Recently, I had an opportunity to fly business class on Thai Airways via the Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok route, which uses the Airbus 350-900. What is this experience like? Would I recommend flying business class with Thai Airways? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is by watching this review. Before we jump into the review, I want to start by saying something. I don't believe in any scenario do these shorter business class flights offer a particular value. It doesn't really seem like a good use of money. However, on this occasion, I didn't have to use money. I have earned a relatively large amount of Citi Points via my Royal Orchid Select Citibank card and decided, you know, what the hell, I was going to splurge on this occasion because I rarely use the miles I have accumulated. The Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok route award ticket requires 12,500 miles for economy and 20,000 miles for business class, along with Thai Airways' ridiculous amount of fees and taxes. The 7,500 mile difference here, well, it seemed worth it to me if it meant I could avoid the Suvarnabhumi Airport immigration meat grinder. That did not go exactly to plan, but more on that later. Let's jump in and start from the beginning of this experience on business class with Thai Airways. Getting to Kuala Lumpur International Airport, well, that is straightforward. You can always take the KLIA Express, which costs 55 Malaysian ringgit and takes about 40 minutes to go from KL Central, the main train station, to the various terminals at the airport. On this occasion, though, I opted for a Grab. It was a holiday Monday, which meant rates and available drivers were in my advantage. I also happen to have a 10% discount coupon, bringing the ride's total cost, including tolls, to 65 Malaysian ringgit. Seeing as my hotel was one stop away from KL Central, I just opted to go with the door-to-door service because it seemed slightly more convenient. I had actually done the train when I landed in KL this time around. Super easy process. I do recommend it, but for today, I just decided I was going to take a Grab. The drive, it took a little less than an hour to get from my hotel in the city center to KLIA. The check-in for business class was expectedly smooth. I mean, I've never had a business class check-in that wasn't smooth, so it was very much par for the course here. On the other hand, economy class, well, that line looked like a zoo, with it having already extended some way 3 hours before takeoff. Definitely glad I was able to avoid that. Immigration at KLIA on this holiday Monday was very quiet. So quiet, in fact, I didn't even bother to look for the exclusive business class or premier passenger line at the immigration setup. There wasn't any need for it. All of the normal queues were so short, I just decided, heck, and just hopped into the first line. It took me, I'd say, less than 5 minutes to get my passport stamped and cleared through immigration at the airport. Once you pass through immigration, you will immediately notice the large amount of renovations taking place at KLIA Terminal 1. Impossible to miss. The main terminal is undergoing just a lot of work, and this has impacted the number of available lounges. Passengers were directed to the Plaza Premium Lounge, which seemed to be like the only facility in operation at KLIA Terminal 1, although I didn't really explore that much to find anything else. Whatever the case may be, the lounge experience was a mess. For starters, there were just way too many people in the lounge. Several people were just able to sneak into the lounge, which I find to be endlessly frustrating. That also didn't help the overcrowded nature of the lounge. When you're finally allowed to enter properly or with permission, Finding a seat is a chore. I had to do several laps around the entire lounge area until someone left and I was able to pick up their seat. The food selection was, well, I hope you like some carbs with your carbs. Even for Asia, I found this to be a bit much. Even the small chocolate cake cubes, like, there has got to be something, a non-carb option available, but from what I saw across the lounge and all of the food selections, it was just one big carb party. What's worse is that none of these carbs were particularly memorable or delicious, even good. I mean, it was just empty calories. The drink selection, now that was commendable. You had a bar, various espresso options, soft drink options. You can have no complaints about that. Plenty of water was on hand as well, always a good thing wherever you're at in an airport. All in all, the drink selection was the only highlight of the entire lounge experience for me. Beyond that, a password is given for free Wi-Fi when you check into the lounge. This works as you would expect it to work. There is also a shower inside, but you have to reserve this ahead of time. Overall, the Plaza Premium Lounge, I don't want to say it was bad because I think it was still nice. It still had some pleasant touches to it. It was just way too overcrowded. And that's not the lounge's fault. It's probably not the airline's fault. It was just a product of being here in this time and this place. But that doesn't mean I have to like it. It was not my favorite lounge experience, to say the least. Getting to the gate, well, my flight was TG418 Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok, and this was flying out of gate C16, which is located in KLIA Terminal 1's satellite terminal. Normally, a tram takes you from the main terminal to this satellite terminal, but that is apparently being renovated or rebuilt or something, and everyone was being shuttled over there by bus. This was a nightmare setup, just a bad idea all around. It's not that it took a lot of time, but it's just a hassle, just cramming hundreds of people in buses, in lines, and going from one terminal to the next. It's just too much. It's not pleasant. It's, even by an airport standard, it's just such an annoyance. Once you arrive at the satellite terminal, another one of KLIA's inefficient flaws rears its ugly head, conducting security checks outside the gate. This is so dumb, and it creates so many unnecessary people backlogs, as those disembarking from the plane and trying to go to immigration are sort of crossing over with everyone waiting in line for securities. This is such a dumb process, and I don't know why it's done like this. Eventually, I made it to the gate, got through security, but this was not enjoyable in the slightest, and there are just way too many inefficient steps to get to the gate at KLIA. Boarding, much like checking in, nothing remarkable to note. It was quick, it was efficient. That is also probably helped significantly by the fact business class on TG418 was half empty. Once I reached my seat and got settled in, a flight attendant came by and asked me if I'd like anything to drink and offered me a hot towel. I ordered a ginger ale, and I always enjoy a good hot towel. I mean, who doesn't? Before takeoff, the flight attendant returned to take my dinner order. We'll obviously get to that in a bit, but again, the boarding experience extremely smooth. Flight attendant did an excellent job, and just really a much better experience than getting to the gate or even the lounge. If you know the Airbus 350-900, then you obviously are familiar with the great business class seating, and that is the aircraft TG418 flew on my flight. It is 4 across a row business class, and I had opted for seat 15K, which has a window with it. I find this to be the most enjoyable business class layout that I've personally experienced. The seats are way more than you could ever ask for on such a short flight. You get the recline and the lay flat options, although why anyone would need the latter is sort of a mystery on such a short flight, but it is, I guess, nice to have in case you do need to have a short 30-minute lie down. The one thing I didn't like about the seating is just the headrest, because I find it to be just awkward. I could never find the sweet spot with the headrest there. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just my height or the way I was sitting, but I think the headrest is really the only negative I have about the seating. And even then, it's just small. It's just a bit awkward, a bit clunky compared to the rest of the seating. I do also want to give a special mention to Thai Airways pillows and blankets in business class, because I think these just may be the best around. The pillows in particular, so fluffy, so soft, so awesome. This gets a big thumbs up for me when it comes to the seating. My favorite part of taking off from KLIA to Bangkok is the fact that you usually get to fly over the Kuala Lumpur city center. And this is a really awesome sort of view, especially at night when the city's lit up. I think this is a really cool aspect of taking this particular flight. That being said, the rest of takeoff was there. There was nothing I can point to as being good or bad, apart from just getting this great view of Kuala Lumpur. Meal service began shortly after the seatbelt sign switched off. I will give Thai Airways this. It does meal service presentation right with all of the bells and whistles on business class. You still even get things like real silverware and napkins. On a 2-hour flight, these are the details that get stripped away occasionally, even in business class, so it was good to see Thai Airways keeping these up. As for the food itself, it was a bit hit and miss. Let's start with the good though. Of the entree choices available, I found the prawns and snapper with dry tom yum sauce to be the most appealing, and it did not disappoint. It was nice with decent sized prawns to use, always a welcome sight. The vegetables though, they were just there. Also delicious was the panna cotta and chocolate mousse dessert, and who doesn't love a nice hot piece of garlic bread? So kudos to Thai Airways there. Now for the not so good. I have no idea why the food and beverage selectors at Thai Airways opted to cram 2 different starters into one concoction. It was confusing. Seriously, picking one and going with it would have been the better option here, because you couldn't even really separate them. Everything was just mixed together in one dish. It was messy. It didn't necessarily taste good because you had all of these different flavors from the 2 different starters just co-mingling together. I found this choice to be peculiar. Finally, the nuts and dried fruit were perfectly fine, as was the ginger ale. I had to wash everything down. I'm not going to say meal service was a home run or slam dunk or whatever sports metaphor you want to use, but I did overall rate this well. So yeah, take that in mind. Not everything with meal service is perfect, but pretty good, all things considered. The entertainment console Thai Airways uses on the Airbus A350-900, very sharp, crisp picture, gotta love it. Unfortunately, what you don't have to love are the entertainment options, which are, in a word, limited. Having flown both Korean Air and ANA over the past few months, the lack of TV shows and movies on Thai Airways when compared to its competitors was very noticeable, and just it felt like more work could have been done in this department. For a 2-hour hop, this was fine, but a long haul route with this limited choice of entertainment would have been a real bummer. As for the touchscreen remote that comes with the entertainment console, this is one of those things that seems cool, seems like it's fun to use, but is actually kind of impractical when you start putting it to use. I ended up just swiping the screen more often than not because it was just easier than pulling out the touchscreen remote and using it, so there's that. As for the headphones, they did cancel out a fair bit of noise. When I had the headphones on and I took them off, I definitely noticed the difference in sound. For the negative, the headphones do happen to be kind of bulky, and I didn't really find the sound quality to be all of that good. So while they cancel out outside noise, what you're hearing is still a little muffled, just a little distorted. I mean, it's not as bad as economy class, but again, the headphone package overall, they aren't comfortable or all that comfortable, and the sound quality isn't remarkable by any means. Let's go over some of the other stuff when it comes to Thai Airways business class on the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok. The ambiance, as with almost all Thai Airways flights, it's really pleasing visually speaking. You gotta enjoy the purple and pink lights, the unique color scheme. It looks good. In business class, you also have a few more minor presentation details that really add an extra feeling of luxury. Additionally, the flight attendants do an exceptional job making sure your needs are covered without being overbearing. It's a fine line to walk, but the Thai Airways staff do walk it quite well. So again, big shout out to them. I've never had a bad experience when it comes to Thai Airways in-flight staff though. So they do a really good job in that department. The bathrooms, well, they're the bathrooms. You have a few different items in there to use should you wish to use them, but I mean, all airplane bathrooms, they just are not good. The flight landed at Suvarnabhumi Airport on schedule, so no issues with that. Although this is the moment in the flight where I really felt things started to go pear-shaped on me. As we were taxiing, I noticed the plane was pulling up to a gate on the domestic terminal side of the facility, which I thought was odd at the time. As it turned out, we were parking here and then we're going to be bussed back to the international side of the airport. Usually when something like this happens, business class passengers are provided an expedited experience in getting from the plane to wherever you're going on the bus or minivan or however they're shuttling over people on the plane. It's business class is usually, again, it's just expedited for them, but that was not the case on this flight. Business class passengers got onto the first bus and then had to wait for it to fill up. I was standing on the bus for maybe 15 minutes as people made their way off the aircraft. And then eventually a bus full of people were taken back to the international side of the airport and everyone made the mad dash to immigration. Here's the deal. There are definitely dedicated immigration lines at Suvarnabhumi for business class and premium passengers. The issue is these seem to be constantly moving and I never know from time to time where it's going to be at. Worse though is the reality that there's almost no signage pointing to these. To me, it would have been nice to have some communication from someone about what we should expect as business class passengers. Whether it was just a heads up on where we should go at immigration, if there's someone there to guide us through the process. But no, there was none of that on this flight. This was a major buzzkill. If I'm being honest, the primary reason I used my miles to get on a business class flight was to avoid the nightmare that can be Suvarnabhumi International Airport immigration. Instead, I ended up waiting in line at immigration for 20 plus minutes with everyone else because it wasn't clear on where I should go and no one seemed to have an answer for me at the airport. I mean, what are we doing here with this? Like, why is this like this? It really is just, to me, a big disappointment. From wheels up to wheels down, the Thai Airways business class experience on this flight from Kuala Lumpur to Bangkok delivered. Look, the experience has its flaws, but these complaints are very minor. I'm also not going to hold what happened at KLIA when it came to the lounge and the renovations and the experience there against the airline because it has no real control over these. This was not Thai Airways doing. So while I didn't enjoy it for sure, I'm not going to say it was the airline's fault. It wasn't, and that would be disingenuous. Disembarkation though at Thai Airways home airport in Bangkok, it should be a breeze for business class passengers. It was definitely not on this evening, and again, like I said, that is disappointing. The business class experience of any airline should provide in-air comfort and on-the-ground convenience. For Thai Airways, on this flight, it delivered in-air comfort, but the on-the-ground convenience was severely lacking. Would I give Thai Airways business class another shot? I think it would depend on the circumstances and the situation. Look, there are some things Thai Airways does really well, but again, you want that complete package. And if a potential customer is going to invest heavily, regardless of if it's money or it's miles, you have to be able to deliver that to them. So I think I would need to consider carefully, and if I felt Thai Airways could deliver that business class experience in full on my next flight with them. Otherwise, I just may bite the bullet and use my miles for economy. If you've happened to fly Thai Airways business class in recent times, why don't you let me know about your experience in the comments section below. Also, feel free to share any horror stories of KLIA as well, because I honestly was taken aback by just how wild my time there was, and not in a good way. Look, I hope the improvements there are for the better, but right now it is not a fun place to fly out of. That does it for me. I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is Interesting Asia, and as always, keep it interesting.